Wiki ASMR. Hi, and welcome to Wiki ASMR. This is actually my first video. I was reading through some Wikipedia pages, and I was wondering if there was any way to hear Wikipedia articles through audio, kind of like a audible type of thing. But apparently there isn't. So I kind of got an idea of maybe narrating Wikipedia pages. And then after I thought of that, I thought a lot of these Wikipedia articles would make some good ASMR for falling asleep, seeing as it could be pretty boring if you're not doing it for homework or something like that. So I decided for my first video I would be reading the entirety of the ancient Greece page on Wikipedia. If you're like me, then you've always been fascinated with ancient Greece, whether it's because of its mythology or you're just a history fan. But I think it's fair to say that a lot of people find it interesting. So, without further ado, let's begin. To start off, I do want to take a quick look at this map. It looks like it depicts the entirety of the Greek archipelago and all the islands, the little islands. Let's make it higher resolution so we can see all these little islands scattered across the Mediterranean. A lot of people don't know this, but Greece, ancient Greece, was never really just one country or empire. It was actually a bunch of what they call city-states. So places like Athens were actually sovereign, as in they just ruled themselves. They were not part of a bigger Greek empire. So that would be like if New York was its own country. It would be a city-state. That's pretty interesting. Ionian Sea. Interesting. I wonder what that's called today. Or maybe, Gulf of Venice. So I guess Italy's over here. Alright. Wait, White Sea. I think there's a Black Sea as well, right? Alright. How do Alright. We're back here. So, let's begin. Ancient Greece was a northeastern Mediterranean civilization existing from the Greek Dark Ages of the 12th to 9th century BC to the end of classical antiquity. as 600 AD that comprised a loose collection of culturally and linguistically related cities, states, and communities. Prior to the Roman period, most of these regions were officially unified only once under the Kingdom of Macedon. Okay, so I guess at one point they were actually, at least most of them, unified under one kingdom. But for the most part, they were city-states. Okay. From 338 to 323 BC. In Western history, the era of classical antiquity was immediately followed by the early Middle Ages in the Byzantine period. 3 centuries after the decline of the Mycenaean Greece during the Bronze Age collapse, Greek urban polis began to form in the 8th century BC, ushering in the Archaic period and the colonization of the Mediterranean basin. This was followed by the age of classical Greece, from the Greco-Persian Wars. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie 300, but I'm pretty sure that depicts the war between the Spartans and the Persians. I'm pretty sure this is the same war. So anyways, from the Greco-Persian Wars to the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC, in which included the Golden Age of Athens and the Peloponnesian War, the unification of Greece by Macedon under Philip II, and subsequent conquest of the Achaemenid Empire by Alexander the Great, spread Hellenistic civilization across the Middle East. The Hellenistic period is considered to have ended in 30 BC, when the last Hellenistic kingdom, Ptolemaic Egypt, was annexed by the Roman Republic. Classical Greek culture, especially philosophy, had a powerful influence on ancient Rome, which carried a version of it throughout the Mediterranean and much of Europe. For this reason, classical Greece is generally considered the cradle of Western civilization, the seminal culture from which the modern West derives many of its founding archetypes and ideas in politics, philosophy, science, and art. Classical antiquity in the Mediterranean region is commonly considered to have begun in the 8th century BC, around the time of the earliest recorded poetry of Homer, and ended in the 6th century AD. Classical antiquity in Greece was preceded by the Greek Dark Ages, between 1200 to 800 BC, archaeologically characterized by the proto-geometric and geometric styles of design on the pottery. Following the Dark Ages was the Archaic period, beginning around the 8th century BC, which saw early developments in Greek culture and society, leading to the Classical period. From the Persian invasion of Greece in 480 BC until the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC. The Classical period is characterized by a classical style, i.e., one of which was considered exemplary by later observers. most famously in the Parthenon of Athens. Politically, the classical period was dominated by Athens, so that was one of the city-states I had mentioned, and the Delian League during the 5th century, but displaced by Spartan hegemony during the early 4th century BC, before power shifted to Thebes and the Boeotian League, and finally to the League of Corinth, led by Macedon. This period was shaped by the Greco-Persian Wars, the Peloponnesian War, and the rise of Macedon. Following the classical period was the Hellenistic period, 323 to 146 BC, during which Greek culture and power expanded into the Near and Middle East, from the death of Alexander until the Roman conquest. Roman Greece is usually counted from the Roman victory over the Corinthians at the Battle of Corinth in 146 BC to the establishment of Byzantium by Constantine as the capital of the Roman Empire in 330 AD. Finally, late antiquity refers to the period of Christianization during the later 4th to early 6th centuries AD, consummated by the closure of the Academy of Athens by Justinian I in 529. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Academy of Athens was founded by Plato. Yeah, Plato's Academy. Interesting. I've been reading Republic by Plato. That's kind of what, I forgot to mention that, but that's actually kind of what got me into ancient Greece. Good stuff. So, this is the Parthenon. I'm sure you've seen pictures of it. It says the Parthenon, a temple dedicated to Athena, located on the Acropolis in Athens, is one of the most representative symbols of the culture and sophistication of the ancient Greeks. Interesting. Would be cool to see it one day in person. Alright, moving on. We got historiography. Oh. My dog is sneezing. Alright, I think it's done. So we got historiography. The historical period of ancient Greece is unique in world history as the first period attested directly and comprehensive narrative historiography, while earlier ancient history or proto-history is known from much more fragmentary documents such as annals, king lists, and pragmatic epigraphy. Herodotus is widely known as the father of history. His histories are eponyms of the entire field, written between the 450s and 420s BC. Herodotus' work reaches about a century into the past, discussing 6th century BC historical figures such as Darius I of Persia, Cambyses II, and Psamtik III, and alluding to the 8th century BC persons such as Hindo Candalas. The accuracy of Herodotus' work is debated. Yeah, you can tell. Look at all the references. Herodotus was succeeded by authors such as Thucydides, Xenophon, Demosthenes, Plato, and Aristotle. Most were either Athenian or pro-Athenian, which is why far more is known about the history and politics of Athens than of many other cities. Their scope is further limited by a focus on political, military, and diplomatic history, ignoring economic and social history. Alright, now we're moving into the main stuff. Is history. So the first period seems to be archaic period. The archaic period, lasting from approximately 800 to 500 BC, saw the culmination of political and social developments which had begun in the Greek Dark Age, with the polis, city-state, becoming the most important unit of political organization in Greece. The absence of powerful states in Greece after the collapse of Mycenaean power and the geography of Greece, where many settlements were separated from their neighbors by mountainous terrain, encouraged the development of small independent city-states. Several Greek states saw tyrants rise to power in this period, most famously at Corinth from 657 BC. The period also saw the founding of Greek colonies around the Mediterranean, with Oboan settlements at Almina in the east, as early as 800 BC, and Ischia in the west by 775. Increasing contact with non-Greek peoples in this period, especially in the Near East, inspired developments in art and architecture, the adoption of coinage, and the development of Greek alphabet. Athens developed its democratic system over the course of the archaic period. Already in the 7th century, the right of all citizen men to attend the assembly appears to have been established after a failed coup led by Cylon of Athens around 636 BC. Draco was appointed to establish a code of laws in 621. This failed to reduce the political tensions between the poor and the elites. And in 594, Solon was given the authority to enact another set of reforms, which attempted to balance the power of the rich and the poor. In the middle of the 6th century, Pisistratus established himself as a tyrant, and after his death in 527, his son, Hippias, inherited his position. By the end of the 6th century, he was overthrown, and Cleisthenes carried out further democratizing reforms. In Sparta, a political system with 2 kings, a council of elders, and 5 ephors developed over the course of 8th and 7th century. According to Spartan tradition, this constitution was established by the legendary lawgiver Lycurgus over the course of the First and Second Messenian Wars. Sparta subjugated the neighboring region of Messenia, serving the population. In the 6th century, Greek city-states began to develop formal relationships with one another. For previously, individual rulers had relied on personal relationships with the elites of other cities. Towards the end of the Archaic period, Sparta began to build a series of alliances. The Peloponnesian League, with cities including Corinth, Elis, and Megara, isolating Messenia and reinforcing Spartan's position against Argos, the other major power in the Peloponnese. Other alliances in the 6th century included those between Elis and Heraea, and the Peloponnese, and between the Greek Cyprus and southern Italy as allies in the Serta Yoi. Alright, so next up is classical Greece. I think I might have to split this up into maybe 2 or 3 parts because I just took a look at this and I'm only not even a quarter of the way through. So maybe I'll stop